Mickey, Donald, and Goofy have had some great games and some not so great games over the years. Today we're looking at 5 games from Mickey and Friends on the Sega Genesis. Goofy's Hysterical History Tour. Hey, this is a great example of 2 out of 3, it ain't bad. It might be goofy, it might be history, but it is not hysterical. This game is a bit rough. Something to keep in mind is that Pete is a d***. Poor Goofy, man. He's just trying to get ahead of his job, trying to get a raise, trying to get a promotion, and Pete is over here actually attempting to sabotage Goofy. It's ridiculous. What a d***. Goofy is, to be fair though, pretty doggone dumb. He's doing his best to keep his job, but then he finds himself daydreaming about these random points in history. And given the levels that we're exposed to, you would think that working day and night in a history museum would give him a little more to work with. But here we are. The professor, he's not real happy with Goofy because Goofy's been slacking. But that's what Goofy is. He's Goofy. And that includes this Goofy run. That includes this Goofy wheel that's just goofy fast and at times kind of goofy slow. Regarding game design here, it's actually kind of impressive, the momentum, but it's also just not particularly fun. It's certainly not a moment like the minecart stuff in Donkey Kong Country, and it's certainly not as infuriating as Bucky O'Hare's ride levels, but it's there. What could make Goofy's job harder or easier? How about this extendo arm? This thing you would think would be a little more fun to use, but I think this is eventually what would become the solid mechanic that was Mickey Mouse becoming a mountain climber. This game isn't terribly difficult by any means. It's clearly a children's game, but it can be a super precise platformer too. Fortunately, the game only takes a couple of hours to beat, and for a platformer from the 90s, that's kind of long. But I don't know that I would really recommend this game. At least I wouldn't recommend it the way I recommend this next one. Castle of Illusion. What a freaking classic game. Oh my goodness. Graphically, this game is not really impressive, but man, it drips nostalgia for me. This is some early Genesis stuff, and the graphics show it, but it is just sincere fun. The story finds Mickey trying to save Minnie from Miserabelle, a witch who is intent on sucking the life out of Minnie. Mickey is informed that he has to gather gems from some masters of illusion inside this castle to save Minnie. And this leads him to many different stages like a forest, a toyland, and the castle itself, along with a few others. Each stage is bright and beautiful, and you traverse it just dropping that thickness onto enemies. Dude. Or tossing apples or marbles at enemies.
Ow! Who throws a cupcake? Honestly.
One of the coolest parts is the end. It's not much, but I won't spoil it because it's just so freaking cute. This game is not terribly difficult either. As a matter of fact, the first level is the first game that my firstborn child beat, and I'll never forget her excitement. She was so excited to be playing a Mickey Mouse game and bouncing on enemies, and getting to the end of the stage was just a moment of absolute triumph for her. So maybe that's part of the magic of this game for me. Not only my memories, but of course memories with my daughter and the memories that she made with that. But the music, platforming, stages, and just overall aesthetic make it difficult to pass up. It's no secret in the retro game community that this game is great, but hey, I'm here to reiterate it. You need to play this game. Oh, and this box art. Ooh, God, tears me up, it's so good. Quackshot. Donald Duck discovers a map in Scrooge's library, and, he steals it. Yeah, that's definitely theft. But he thinks this is the path to riches, so he starts following the map to try to get rich. Of course, somehow Pete just happens to overhear this, and, in case we hadn't driven that point home yet, Pete is a dick. So naturally he follows Donald to try and steal that treasure that Donald is earning honestly by following the map he stole from Scrooge McDuck, who probably robbed it from a grave or something. 2 wrongs do not make a right, ladies and gentlemen, but this game certainly is a right. The game, as you can clearly see, is a side-scroller, and despite it being an early Genesis game, I think it's lovely. The sprites look pretty stellar, really, and hold up on the Genesis. In the game, you adventure a little bit, traveling from place to place to obtain items that will let you move on to the next area. Although the game allows you to explore, there is really a pretty set path you have to follow, which sounds frustrating, and it can be, but it's probably worth it just to, take a moment, look up a suggested level order list or something, kind of like you might do nowadays with Mega Man. The game has you playing Donald with his gat, busting caps, baby. Or, shooting plungers, popcorn, and bubbles or bubblegum or whatever this is. This is not, obviously, the most intense gun, but hey, it's still effective. Eventually, you get the ability to climb on things using the plungers, and that's some pretty neat platforming added. It's kind of like Darkwing Duck for the NES. You travel through these levels, sometimes solving a few puzzles, and defeating bosses all the way to the end. And oh, just like Castle of Illusion, look at this box art. Freaking solid. Fantasia. This box art, on the other hand, not like the other two, leaves something to be desired. Maybe it's just bad box art for a great game? Maybe?
Mama's wrong again.
No, Colonel Sanders, you're wrong.
Fantasia, despite my love for Mickey Mouse, sort of just sucks. Like Pete. I've seen Fantasia, and I'm not crazy or uninformed here, but it looks like Mickey's soul is leaving his body here. The controls in this game just feel bad. You jump way too freaking high, ascending faster than Mickey's soul out of his body, and the jumps are super floaty. When you hit the ground, it feels like stepping into a fly trap. You just stop. It's cool being the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and that's a neat concept, but Mickey must have been like farting around instead of paying attention because you have so little magic at your disposal. You can't jump on things, which is a staple of this generation of platformers, so you're forced to just avoid mops and such. It's not fun. It's tedious. And that jump, whew, it sort of feels like Mario's long jump momentum in Mario 64, but make no mistake, Mario 64, this game is not. Wait, what? You can jump on enemies? You just have to hold down to do so, like in DuckTales. But it doesn't change your character animation at all. Now, DuckTales did this, and the pogo stick thing works well. Castle of Illusion did this, but this game fails to change your sprite by any means when you jump and hold down. Why? It just feels like everything in this game is designed to be difficult and not fun. Priority number one, ladies and gentlemen, make this game as frustrating as possible. Look at these platforms, they suddenly speed up while you're jumping. Why? You have 4 spells you can cast out of the gate on normal difficulty, but using a spell isn't always one bit of energy. It's either 1 or it's 3. And the magic is difficult to come by. Why? Why did they think it was necessary to set the game up with even the slightest bit of difference between magic spells? Was it so you'd fart around and use 1 bolt and not kill an enemy? Or use 3 bolts to kill 1 enemy and then have 1 piece of energy left to only be surprised that it's a different button and won't kill a broom? Why? And the water, oh my goodness. Basically, you have 0 invincibility time. If you fall in the water and can't get out, you're basically just waterboarded until it's over. Who designed this game? Pete? There's one more game I want to share, but before I continue, I admit, this game is frustrating, and I can definitely get frustrated with it, but most of my content is focused on the positive aspects of video games. If you're looking for more content like that, particularly more video games based on cartoons, you might check out this video or my other content on my channel. Thank you so much. Here we go. World of Illusion, the real reason I wanted to make this video. Pun intended, there is just something magical about this game. I think the graphical fidelity of this game is really impressive. Maybe it's the animations of Mickey and Donald. The swiping of the cape is smoother than butter. The game begins with Mickey and Donald doing a magic act together, when suddenly an evil magician's magical box sends our duo to another world where they have to figure out how to get home.
Homeward Bound, the incredible journey.
Who was the evil magician? I bet you could guess.
Who is this creature? What is he? What?
It's Pete. This guy sucks, man. Why? Why is Pete such a jerk? In this game, you can choose your characters. You can choose to play as Mickey. You can choose to play as Donald. You can choose to play together or single player. Out of all the Mickey Mouse games I played when I was younger, this was the one that I was most impressed with, despite it not being the funnest of the ones I'd played. But it looked like a cartoon to me. Waving that cape so buttery smooth on the screen with the shimmer and magic just to see an enemy not killed but get mutated behind this cape and into a flower is disturbing. It's nostalgic, don't get me wrong, but it's disturbing. Let me repeat that. When you wave your cape over these enemies, they get twisted, man. They turn into different things. I can only assume this is absolutely violent. So how does one go from this ant to a flower?
You don't really want to work it out.
I mean, look at how it twists up poor Donald when you hit him. Either way, again, you can play this game solo or co-op with a friend and play through this 16-bit beautiful world. The stages have been criticized and the game has been criticized for not being too difficult, but I've always found them challenging enough to enjoy. If you're itching to scratch your Mickey fix, this is certainly one of the best ways on the Genesis. Oh, and you know what? Pete.